The Romantic era was a period of time that occurred during the 18th and 19th century. This period is most significantly defined by a movement in art and literature. Writers of the time emphasized the use of emotion, imagination, and the lack of following strict rules of form. A key set of writers are most notably credited as the poets of the time. These poets helped to shape Romantic literature into what we see it as now. The relationships between them each were some of the defining factors of building the Romantic movement. George Byron, Percy Shelley, and John Keats were three writers of the period that did just that. Born into an aristocratic family, George Byron was raised a poor child. After receiving inheritance at 10 years old, he was able to attend Harrow School, a scholarship intended for the descendants of noblemen. He later went on to attend Trinity College in Cambridge as well. During his time at Trinity College, Byron became intrigued by the celebrated freedom of the French common people following the French Revolution. This served as an important inspiration for many of Byron's works. Though he was frequently criticized for his controversial acts and writings, his literature was generally well received. John Keats was born in London during the 18th century. Unfortunately, he lost both of his parents at a very young age. Yet this did not stop him from attending a solid and reputable school. He spent his academic time studying to be a surgeon, but found himself to be more interested in literature. Keats became known for his efforts in lyrical poetry after he published his first book of poems in 1817 and his second in 1820. Much like George Byron, Keats' poems were well received and very successful. At the young age of 25, Keats passed away, and this led to his literature becoming even more popular. Unlike John Keats and George Byron, Percy Shelley was born into a wealthy family. He attended both Eton College and Oxford University as part of his academic career. During his time in Oxford, Shelley was exposed to the extraordinary viewpoints of many radical thinkers. These viewpoints inspired him with his own unconventional beliefs and thoughts. Unfortunately, these thoughts, which influenced his writing, led to a lack in approval and a sizable amount of controversy around Shelley's works. As a result, Shelley was not as widely well received as both Keats and Byron. The three previously stated writers, as well as many others during the Romantic era, commonly served as inspiration to each other. They would frequently build off of the ideas and creations of others, and this served as a foundation for the Romantic era as a whole. Many writers of the era had even closer relationships than simply knowing each other's works. Percy Shelley, for example, frequently visited George Byron along with William Godwin, a journalist of the time. This served as an important period of productivity and creativity. Shelley's tragic death occurred during a boating accident while visiting Byron. The outlook of these writers was not only constructed with the inspiration of each other, but also with the strong influence of the world around them. Most notably, the French Revolution, with its frequent changes in ideals, created a strong outlook of the people. This not only inspired the writers, but also the common people. Technological advancements around the time increased industrial production, leading to a change in the economic activity of Europe. Unfortunately, factory workers were more worried about making money than the safety of their workers, and this had an effect on the ideas of the general population of Europe, resulting in the suspicion of industrialization. Writers and thinkers followed suit in the suspicion, which once again could be successful because of the cultural popularity of the ideas. It became a rebellion of sorts against the ideas that were once considered normal. Romantic-era literature is not only defined by the subject matter discussed, but also by many literary techniques and devices. Alliteration and assonance were two commonly used techniques in many works of the Romantic era. Alliteration, repetition repeating similar sounds beginning words, as well as assonance, the repetition of the sound of a vowel, could be used as a way to create a sense of harmony, as Byron did in his poem She Walks in Beauty. Unlike the goals of today's culture in our society, women of the Romantic era were treated as unequal. They were always financially dependent on men, husbands if married, relatives if not. Though they were sometimes well educated, which was more likely if they were part of the upper class, they were not encouraged to hold a profession. Although it was widely known during the time, the Romantic style of writing was not the only of the era. Gothic literature held its own smaller audience, but was criticized in earlier times. Many people found Gothic literature and art to be underneath the standards that they had come to expect. As the Romantic era developed, Gothic literature and art found a new audience with a different response than they had previously shown. The differing viewpoints of the Romantic era fell right in line with the creations of the Gothic genre. Overall, the Romantic era had a strong influence on the writers and common people during the time. Much like other eras, it was a response by a strong shift in beliefs as well as preferences in the depiction of art and literature. Without the Romantic era, we may have missed an important part of the cultural development in our society. I believe that this, as well as the rest of our world's history, were all a vital part of shaping our society into what it is today. Though things now may seem drastically different, it is only with what we have learned that we could come to where we are now.